I'm Bassmaster Elite Fisherman Greg Hackney, and today we're going to talk about the post-spawn period. It basically happens anywhere a bass exists, whether it's a smallmouth, a largemouth, a spotted bass. The main thing to remember is that the main goal of those fish once they get through spawning, especially the females, they typically are the ones who make that move first, is to feed. You know, a female moves up on the nest with the male, and I'm just gonna go through this roughly, and she spawns and she vacates. Well, the instant she's finished, sometimes it may take her a couple weeks, she may spawn on multiple beds, but once she's finished, basically it's post-spawn. She's post-spawn. So she started that period of life that she's had babies, and now on the male on the other side, he may be shallow for 3 weeks, 3 or 4 weeks, till the babies hatch, depending on the weather, how long that takes, and then he guards them up to a certain size till they get big enough that basically, in a way, they can take care of themselves. So, but the one thing that's so important in all that is feed, because that's what they want to do right after that. On a lot of places, right as the bass get through spawning, the bluegill start spawning. So on lakes that happens on that doesn't have big shad populations or blueback herring, those bass seem to make that transition to bluegill, and they're bluegill eaters. And of course, we know bass are an opportunist, so they'll eat anything. But they typically post-spawn go after the dominant forage, whatever that may be. So as far as bait selection, depending on where you are, you know, if you're on one of those places, let's say that's more bluegill, mayflies, hatching, that type of deal, a popper style bait, KVD popper 200 or 300, I like that around those types of fisheries. You're on more of a, let's say a blueback herring, wake shad. You know, it's long and skinny, a caffeine shad, something that looks more and moves real fast. So for me on the shad spawn, it can be a little more conventional. Spinner bait, you know, shad are attracted. A lot of times that's the best way to find where a shad spawn, but even blueback herring are attracted to that spinner bait. You can throw it and reel it, and those bait fish will attract to it, and it'll show you the areas where the bait fish is. But just something to think about, match the hatch. It's probably one of the most important times of the year to do that, because they want what's good, whatever the dominant forage is. When they're on crawfish, then we're flipping I'm flipping probably a black neon rodent is probably the best bait that resembles a crawfish in my area because it's black and red. The other key is, when you do catch a fish, look, because that time of the year they're eating. You might see some crawfish tentacles sticking out. You might see a forked tail. You can tell if it's a bluegill or it's a shad, because the best thing about that, when you see what bass are actually eating, you make that change to that bait and you'll get a few extra bites. Again, a bass is an opportunist, they'll eat anything. But most of the time, when you find out exactly what he's eating, then that's the piece of the puzzle that makes fishing fun. But that's post-spawn fishing in a nutshell. Main thing, just don't worry about the owl, worry about the mouse, because wherever the mouse is, that's where the owl will be.